Hey guys, welcome back to another video. After having made 3 of these little recap videos, you know I had to come back for a 4th time and do it again. This week's episode is called Kill the Shadow, and is probably my favorite episode up to now. The way I proceed is I'll explain a little bit of the scenes I'm going to talk about and then add my extra info / dialogue / thoughts. So let's get right into this little review. So the first thing I want to talk about is that this episode was really crazy. Every single scene was so intense. With the invasion having started last episode, we now see a little bit of what is going on, and holy shit, the Quincy's are murdering everybody who isn't like a captain or lieutenant pretty freaking easily. Like I said last review, I was not expecting this much death, but again, you know, it is a war. Also, side note, I will most likely be ending up making a video where I count all the deaths that are on screen, because during these first 4 or 5 episodes, there are a shit ton of them. Like I just said, in this episode, it was so freaking intense. The whole time I was waiting for somebody to inevitably use their bankai and get it taken away from them by the Quincy's. We actually see 4 captains get their bankais taken away from them. Sajin, or more commonly known as a dogman. Soifone, or more commonly known as Finger Lady. Toshiro, or more commonly known as Ice Boy. And Byakuya Kuchiki all lose their bankais during this episode. The second thing I want to talk about is actually the fight between Byakuya and Sternritter F. So yes, like I said, the fight between Byakuya and Sternritter F is the main fight we see during this episode, and it delivered. It was a great way to start off all the fights that are going to be coming up during this arc. We also get to see Renji back in action, and Byakuya save his ass from 2 Quincy's and basically show up to solo them until his bankai gets taken away from him. It is also cool to see Renji back in action, like new and refreshed. We also get to see the lovable character Renji get his ass kicked in a new animation, and we love that. We're used to it. We're not surprised to that at all. After Byakuya's bankai is taken, he has the realization that they're not sealing the bankais like they previously thought. They're literally stealing them. They are taking them from them, which means that they will inevitably be able to get them back at some point, hopefully, is my theory. Yeah, so like I said, they are just stolen. So my theory would be that at some point they are going to be able to get back their stolen bankais when they defeat the enemy or something like that. I don't think it's destroyed. I don't think it's sealed. I just really think that they stole it. So theoretically they could take it back at some point. We're going to see if I'm right or wrong. But I'm assuming that's what's going to happen at some point during this arc. It would be sad to see all the captains lose their bankais forever. So hopefully that's not what happens. Getting back to the Byakuya fight, he's fighting the strongest Quincy we've seen up to now, and his powers are pretty cool as well. We see him murder a couple folks and keep them on little spikes he creates, so my guess would be that he's able to pull their energy or something and gain like more power through that. So I feel like he kind of does like the first Quincy that we saw fighting Ichigo, where he can use the other people's power to his advantage and gain their power by sucking it out of them. It was pretty cool to see Senbo and Sakura freshly animated, but then also quickly taken away from us, which is really sad. And with the bankais being stolen, it really makes us feel stressed, as if the Slow Reapers are going to be able to handle the Quincy's. It's like the main debate, because they keep saying that these are enemies that they need their bankais to defeat, yet they can't use them. So we're going to see what's going to happen. In this episode, we see Sajin and Soifone fighting opponents and also get their bankai stolen from them, but they're more like background fights, so we don't really see much of them, so I won't be touching too much on them. But just the important part is that exactly what I said, that their bankais have been taken from them by the Quincy's. Another theory that I have, well, I guess it's not really a theory, it's just logical, but since that these captains have lost their bankais, I'm assuming that we're going to see kind of like maybe not necessarily a training montage or a training arc, but we're going to see them like go through some stuff to become more powerful without using their bankai, so hone their basic skills that they may have lost while they were always using their bankai. The next important part we see is the Toshiro fight. We see Toshiro fighting with a Quincy, and he also gets his bankai stolen as well. And it's like so heartbreaking to see him not have that connection with his Zanpakuto anymore. He really seems heartbroken and defeated at having lost his bankai, which is like very understandable, to be honest. He worked really hard for it, and it's always there for him when he needs it to be. So yeah, it's just pretty sad to see overall that Toshiro has lost his bankai and how sad it made him and how it affects him. Another fight we see during this episode is the Shunsui fight. So basically we see Shunsui fight with a Quincy, as well. And since he is aware that he can't use his bankai, and we all know how lazy slash not wanting to fight he can be, well, he kind of gets his ass handed to him a little bit, with like a cut to his right eye. His eye I think is cut, so I don't think his eye works anymore. I kind of feel stressed for him, to be honest. Like, I love his nonchalantness, but I also don't want anything bad to happen to him. He's a pretty funny character to have, so hopefully he's going to be fine in the upcoming episodes. But also, I know he's powerful, and I'm certain he's going to mess around until he actually has to start kicking some Quincy butt. Then we finally get to the Ichigo fight, which has been finally going on for the past 2 episodes. We see the fight between Ichigo and the Monster Man keep going. We learn kind of what we suspected since episode 1, is that Ichigo's bankai is unable to be sealed by the Quincy's. The Quincy keeps trying to steal it and gets angrier every single time he fails because he's unable to take it, and Ichigo just capitalizes on the moment and just keeps clapping him with his Getsuga Tenshos and his bankai. And Ichigo, on the other hand, just stays kicking his ass, you know? So with this fight, what we see is that Ibarn, the first guy that Ichigo fought and tried to steal his bankai, wasn't able to steal his bankai. Not because he's not strong enough or Ichigo's too powerful. It has nothing to do with that. It's actually, in fact, that it's just Ichigo's bankai cannot be stolen. Because even with this Quincy, who's very powerful, he's unable to take his bankai. At some point during the battle, Ichigo mentions that the Quincy's are scared of the bankais, and I kind of like that sentence. I kind of like the way that Ichigo said it and the reaction that the Quincy had. Because I'm pretty sure to a certain degree, yes, they're scared of the bankais and their immense power, but also from just like a strategical standpoint. If you can take away your enemy's strongest weapon, of course you would. But what I think is so great is the reaction of the Quincy to Ichigo saying this. He kind of looks like so offended, but at the same time, I get a feeling that he might just be right. You know, they might actually be scared of what the bankais can do. Not necessarily everybody's bankai, but just certain people's bankais. I'm sure that, yeah, they're on a hit list and they have a right to try to steal them. At some point during the fight, the Soul Society tries to get in contact with Ichigo, and then Urahara takes the call for Ichigo, and basically they kind of explain everything that's going on and everything that Ichigo needs to know to Urahara, who then ends up explaining it to Ichigo. Urahara understands the situation, understands that it's bad. So when Ichigo's distracting the other Quincy, he ends up getting a shot in and basically killing the Quincy. After killing the Quincy, Urahara sends Ichigo through a portal to go to the Soul Society, where he can go and kick some Quincy butt. But then just as Ichigo is about to reach the Soul Society, the portal closes and we see that the Quincy is not actually dead and was able to close the portal and in fact put Ichigo inside of a jail. Just as we figured out last episode that the Soul Society invasion was based all on the fact that Ichigo was not in the Soul Society, we find out that the Stern Ritter says that he was given an order by the king to keep Ichigo occupied and away from the Soul Society as long as possible during the invasion. So like I've already said, Ichigo certainly is going to play a bigger role than we think in this invasion and in this arc for sure. Up to now, we don't really know what it is or how it plays out, but for right now, we can be confident that Ichigo is going to play a bigger role and there's something else going on in the background that we don't see yet. So there you have it, ladies and gents, a review of episode 4, Thousand Year Blood War. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments. Personally, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think it is probably my favorite episode up to now, and things just keep getting even more intense. I cannot wait for next week's episode and see the story unravel. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.